Coming up on this episode, the Warriors might have fallen to an agonizing 1-point loss to the Houston Rockets at Chase Center on Sunday, but Stephen Curry's thrilling return restored hope and belief to the franchise ahead of the playing tournament. Welcome back to the Golden State with Mates podcast. Hope you're all having a good start to your week. The week ended in thrilling circumstances for the Golden State Warriors with Stephen Curry's exhilarating return against the Houston Rockets on Sunday night. The Warriors did fall 117-116, but have you ever come away from a game feeling better about a loss? It was disappointing that Steph's three at the buzzer didn't go, that the Warriors weren't able to get a stop before that on the upper end Şengün, ultimately game-winning layup. But just to see Steph Curry not just back on the floor, but back like at his best, having not lost anything, maybe a little bit rusty early, but back to his absolute best in the second half, 29 points in 26 minutes, and just providing a reminder of what sport's really about. I think at the end of the day, we get so lost in the X's and O's and the the wins and losses. And that's what it is. I understand, we're here as fans analysing the game, and wins and losses is what professional sport comes down to. It's, that's how your legacy is built on wins and championships. And if you don't get enough wins, you're going to be out of a job pretty quickly as a head coach and stuff like that. So I understand, it's a win-loss business at the end of the day. Trust me, no one's more competitive than I am. I play Tuesday night social league basketball where it means sweet bugger all, but if we lose, which we regularly do, then I come away very, very pissed off. And so I can't imagine what it's like being obviously in a professional space where that is your job, to win games of basketball in this instance. But I think yesterday's game provided a little bit of a timely reminder of, if you strip it all back, right? If you take it back to when you're like a toddler, right? When you can first remember, and it's like, why do we watch sport? And anyone that tells me they don't watch sport, I think you're insane. I actually think people that don't watch sport are insane. What do you do? What do you do with your life if you don't watch sport? That's how much of a maniac I am, I suppose. But if we strip it all back to before I can remember, and I was very fortunate because my old man was a physical education teacher for 40 years and loved this sport. So that's how I got into it, obviously. But if you take it back to the early stages, when you're kind of an innocent child, and the business aspect of it, and guys getting, coaches getting fired and guys getting traded and all that's, when you take that stuff out of it, and you're just watching the game for what it is, you're doing it because it's entertaining, it's fun, it's exciting, it draws an immense amount of passion out of you. And I think that's what we lose sometimes in all the wins and losses and the roster and the just analysing, which I do every episode on, okay, how did the Warriors play in this game? What does it mean moving forward? How in the offseason can they build a championship team, or at least a team that can try and contend for a deep playoff run? All these different things. But again, if we just strip it back, it's like we watch it because it should be fun and exciting and we're passionate about it. And seeing Steph Curry back on the floor, this is the exact thing that I pointed to before this return. It's like, is it risky that he's playing? Yeah. Like, the Warriors are locked into the 10th seed. They're still against the odds to make the playoffs. And if they do, they're probably going to be bundled out in 5 games in the first round, right? If we're being realistic about it. But the whole time when we were considering this return, I suppose, and wondering whether or not this is actually worthwhile for Steph and the Warriors as a franchise. And the main thing I always came back to is, like, at the very least, so long as he doesn't get injured, so long as he's out there, even if the Warriors season ends in 10 days, right? I think the playing games in 8 or 9 days, they could lose the first playing game. That's the end of their season. Even if the season ends in less than 10 days, we still get a few games here of Stephen Curry. And Stephen Curry is the greatest show, maybe in all of sport, when he's up and going, honestly. I don't know what, like, there's, maybe a Nick Dacos for me. No one would know. Americans watching or listening to this don't know who Nick Dacos is, but watching Nick Dacos play for Collingwood Football Club in the AFL, obviously, I love that. He's kind of, he's much younger and hasn't built the accolades that Steph obviously has. But there are a few professional athletes, I suppose, worldwide in sports that we follow, where it's like, it brings us back to being that innocent child of we're just here watching for the love of it because it's fun and it's exciting. And I think maybe we lost that a little bit in the dreary, dark times that the Warriors have faced over the past couple of months here without Steph, without Jimmy Butler. A few rays of sunlight, Guy Santos, Moses before his devastating injury. Pods has been better in recent times, but Steph returns and we see a whole different level of passion. Like, Chase Center is literally shaking in the final minute of that game. Literally shaking. Saw the clip, like the cups are just like literally shaking because Chase Center is on its feet. And it's because of one man at the end of the day. His name's Steph Curry. And his return was absolutely unbelievable for a guy that had missed over 2 months with injury, 27 straight games. To come out and do what he did, 29 points in 26 minutes against one of the best defenses in the league, against one of the best perimeter defenders in the league in Amen Thompson. Just making ridiculous threes like that one with about a minute remaining after the Rockets went up 4 after the Şengün and one over Draymond. Like, just some ridiculous finishes around the rim. The one in the third quarter, crossing up KD, getting by him. Little floater over Şengün, draws the foul as well, and one. It is quite remarkable. Really remarkable. And maybe this is more painfully obvious because Jimmy's not there, but it's incredible the stark contrast between, and this can happen in basketball. Steph's not alone, but it's even more obvious with him. The gap between him and Golden State's second best player, whoever that might be right now without Jimmy, is just like ridiculous. Honestly ridiculous. And so when there's no Steph, of course, it's just simply not going to be anywhere near as fun and as exciting. So even if the Warriors season again ends in 10 days, like the fact we get a night like that where the Warriors, they lose 117, 116. They didn't even win the game. And yet we're walking away from it thinking, man, how good was that? And the fact that it's year 2026 and we can see Kevin Durant and Steph Curry going up against each other, delivering like they did. Because that's part of it as well. Like, I'm nostalgic. I'm really nostalgic. And the longer these legendary players can keep playing, like, I'm not a LeBron guy whatsoever. I am not LeBron, Steph's biggest rival, right? Over the past 15 years, whatever. But even I appreciate, like, LeBron ain't playing for much longer. So I want to try and tune in to watch LeBron. It's always part of the reason why I wouldn't mind him coming to the Warriors. Because it's like, well, at least I get to see every game LeBron plays, right? And I'm trying to appreciate that. And particularly why he's still quite good, right? Same with Steph, same with KD, same with other guys. Like, I was always a Rafa guy over Roger Federer. Like, I'm a big tennis guy. I play a lot of tennis, watch a lot of tennis. I was always, I felt like you had to be a Rafa or a Roger guy during their like primes. And I was always a Rafa guy. And as a result, I was like, don't really love Roger. Respect him, but like, don't love him because I'm a Rafa fan. But then towards the end of Roger's career, I was like, man, I just got to tune in to this. Like, I just got to appreciate this greatness for what it is. And so for Steph to come back after 27 games, there's always at 38 years old with a knee injury that is like not a structural thing, but like just a bit of a more of a frustrating one. Like he spoke about the fact he thought he was only going to be out for a few days, thought he'd be back straight after the All-Star break. And this like lingering knee issue, which, again, is more frustrating than it is like, oh, he's, got a serious, like he's got some kind of structural serious injury kind of thing. And for him to look like that at 38 years old, I think, again, it's just important to remind us that, hey, this dude is still unbelievable, still a top 8 to 12 player in the NBA. And I think a message to the front office, like, I've still got it. We got another year at this, right? You guys better put me in a position next season. Yes, I know, kind of handcuffed a little bit by the Jimmy and Moses injuries, but that should push you even harder. It's like, we got to get some reinforcements here. We got to upgrade the roster a little bit. I still think this roster, healthy, is actually pretty decent. Like if you had Steph, Pods or Melton, Jimmy, Draymond, Porzingis, Gee, one of Melton or Pods, Horford. GP2's kind of been good recently, like part of the rotation mix. Like this roster's actually okay. I think there's some upgrades that need to be made in the offseason. They're going to look for another star player. But Steph doing what he did on Sunday night is just another reminder of, hey, we've got another year at this, because this guy had just missed 27 games, but he still looks like Steph Curry, right? He's still good enough to take over any game, to be the best player in any game. We've seen that multiple times this season. I'll always refer to the 2 games he had in San Antonio against Wemby, which looks even better now considering what Wemby's done since those games. First home game of the season against Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets. Steph, best player on the floor in that game. Go back to 2024 Paris Olympics gold medal game. Like, this dude is extraordinary, and we just can't take it for granted. And I think last night was a nice reminder of that. And again, the Warriors lost the game, but to have Steph Curry back playing the way he did was exceptional. And again, a reminder that it's not necessarily always about the wins and the losses. It's just about enjoying the greatest athletes on earth. Do they think sport is the greatest reality television on earth? And that fourth quarter where you think, oh yeah, Steph's been okay, but this is probably going to end up in a double-digit loss for the Warriors. And then for him to kind of lead a really strong fight back to the point where Draymond finds GP2 slipping for the layup with 20 seconds to go. Obviously, the goaltend called on Amen Thompson. The Warriors go in front, and you think, geez, Golden State are actually going to pull this out after being down. I think they were down 13 when Steph re-entered. I think they were down 14 maybe, and maybe Pat Spencer made a free throw, but just before Steph came in between free throws. So Steph, 29 points in 26 minutes, 11 of 21 from the floor, 5 of 10 from three-point range, plus 12 in the game. And like some of these other dudes still played well, right? Like there were some other positive pieces for the Warriors, but again, the gap between Steph and everyone else is ridiculous, honestly ridiculous, and that's probably a bit unfair on a 38-year-old, and that's why the Warriors, if you could go and get Giannis this offseason, a guy that's arguably better than Steph, maybe not as exciting to watch as Steph, but arguably a better player than Steph. If you go and get a piece like that and load up, that'd obviously be fantastic. But the pure joy that I think we got from that, despite a loss, like it's probably one of the rare times in any sport I watch, any sport I play, where my team, being the Warriors in this circumstance, loses, and I'm like, not hugely disappointed. Now, another factor of that, another reason being, is because they're essentially locked into the 10th seed anyway. So right now, the win-loss doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. You're going to finish as the 10th seed anyway. So it almost does. It's irrelevant. It's how Steph looks. And as we move forward here, okay, when's the win-loss going to matter? In the play-in tournament. Again, none of these they could go out and lose to Sacramento tomorrow, and I'd be like, well, the win, like, there's obviously going to be disappointment because you shouldn't be losing to Sacramento. But the win-loss of it isn't the disappointing. It would be because, Steph had a rough game, didn't quite look like himself, or KP was in foul trouble again, or Draymond, went from having 12 assists and 1 turnover yesterday to having 4 assists and 6 turnovers. Like, there's going to be individual disappointing elements to that. The result doesn't matter at all. And so, again, if we're projecting ahead, and I'm on board, right? The Warriors have brought Steph back with the aim of still trying to make the playoffs. Okay, I'm on board with it. Okay, we've argued, right? We've argued whether or not this should actually be happening. Guess what? It is happening. Steph came back and he's playing, right? So I'm on board with the Warriors trying to win 2 playing games to get to the playoffs. Do I think it's the best thing for the long term? Maybe not, but it's not up to me. This is what the team's doing, and so I should be like, I'm a fan. I'm supporting the team in the ambition of winning 2 playing games and getting to the playoffs. And what happens between now and the play-in tournament doesn't matter what the win-loss is. Doesn't matter what the results are. It's how Steph Curry looks. And of course, if Steph looks good, it's most likely going to lead to a couple of, like, you're going to, if Steph looks good tomorrow against Sacramento, you're going to win the game, right? Because it's the Kings. Steph can probably have a bad game and the Warriors still might win. But this guy moving forward into the play-in tournament, you'd have to be a little bit concerned as, like, I saw a tweet, is like, Portland are currently ahead of the Clippers now, I think, as the 8th seed. I saw a Trailblazers fan on social media being like, yeah, we need to finish as the 8th seed. I don't really want to go up against that guy as the 9th seed. Talking about Steph, like, that dude can win you 2 straight playing games, right? I'm not saying he will, but can he be the best player on the floor in 2 straight games in the play-in? Of course he can. He can get the Warriors to the playoffs. Needs a little bit of help, but even yesterday, like, there were some positives, but no one else really played overly well, I wouldn't have thought. And yet the Warriors nearly beat a Rockets team who I think had won 5 straight games coming into it. I don't particularly love the Rockets, but they're like a reasonable team, obviously. And Steph Curry nearly got past them again. Like, even you got Houston fans, on social media that I saw, was like, they got the win, and then plenty of them are still like, man, if that shot went in, I wouldn't have woke up tomorrow. Like, that would have just been it, right? The shot at the buzzer, like, the PTSD they have from Steph Curry, even after winning the game, they're just like, this dude needs to get out of here. Like, we are so sick of this dude. Anyway, any other positives from this game? Obviously, Draymond had to go at Pods for the last possession, and they kind of wanted to set a double screen there, and Pods just hung out and didn't move, essentially. Draymond was pissed off with that. I can understand Pods' response was like, well, I didn't want to clog it up even further and bring in like a 3rd defender over into kind of Steph's airspace, and which is understandable. I suppose you could also, I think they had a timeout remaining, so I can't, maybe Steve could have taken a timeout. Look, it is what it is at the end of the day. Again, I'm not overly critical of it because the win-loss, because at that point it was like, this is already a win because Steph looks great. So again, I'm not overly concerned about the win-loss result of it when it doesn't actually truly matter to where the Warriors are going to finish this regular season. Outside of that, Pods had a decent game. Absolutely. 18 points, 7 of 11 shooting from the floor. Liked his game. He's been good recently. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Draymond kind of just looks like a more useful offensive player, obviously, when Steph's out there, when they can get into like the dribble handoff stuff. And even like just his ability to be out, like the GP2 slip out of the post kind of thing. The split cut action where Draymond found him slipping for the layup in the final 20 seconds. Even like the pass to Steph, I think in the past couple of minutes that in the final 2 minutes that got Steph a layup at the rim, which I think the NBA's come out now and said that he should have been, Thompson should have been called a foul on Steph, and that should have been an and one layup, which could have helped. And then also the Şengün and one layup over Draymond. I think the NBA has also come out and said that should have been a 3-second violation. So the Warriors kind of got screwed as well. But I'm not going to, again, because the win-loss doesn't matter too much, I'm not going to necessarily rip into the refs at this point. So even Draymond just being able to stand essentially almost alone at the top of the perimeter, but still pick guys out because Steph's just doing his thing where he's running around like a maniac. And because there's like multiple defenders forward, like got eyes on him, guys can slip to the rim and get easy points and stuff like that. And Draymond can find them in those situations. So he's just a more useful offensive player, obviously, when Steph's on the floor. It's really interesting because GP2 played really well yesterday. So Draymond has 12 assists and only 1 turnover. So a good Draymond game. GP2 has 14 points. This dude has, you guys that have been a long time listeners of this podcast would know that I've regularly earlier in the season went on about GP2 and the fact that this dude shouldn't be in the rotation. If he is playing, it should be like 5-10 minutes max, spot minutes. Do you know what's weird? Gary Payton II is like a better offensive player than he is a defensive player, I think, literally right now, because his ability to just be in the right spots where it's like around, like we know, like he's always around the rim, but it's like not only that, but it's like he's finishing as well. He's shooting 70.7% or 70% on 2-point field goal attempts this season. 70%, like for a 6'2" guy who just lives around the rim. It's like he's finishing for a guy his height is quite remarkable. And again, I thought he did a really great job while Steph was out, because I was like, he's a guy that's often been thought of as like a Steph merchant, as like a guy that will only play well next to Steph. And the fact that he actually had this like his long list of double-digit scoring games, like what did he get up to, like 10 or 11 in a row without Steph? I was like, man, this is actually quite remarkable. And then, looks good again alongside Steph yesterday. 14 points, pretty efficient around the rim again. I've gone from a point where I was like, yeah, we have to move on from Gary Payton II. Like we surely in terms of this roster and trying to get to a deep playoff contending status again, like surely GP2 is a guy we need to move on from. But the last like 6 weeks, I'm like, I've come around on him where it's like if they re-sign him to a minimum in free agency, I'll be like, yeah, whatever, cool, I guess. I'm not gonna be hating on it like I feel like I would have maybe a couple of months ago. Anyway, so GP2 a good game. Gee started off red hot, 8 points in the first 4 minutes, couple of threes. I like the fact that he was still aggressive, 5 of 15 shooting from the floor. So wasn't great, obviously, in terms of the shooting percentages there. But the last thing you want is Steph coming back and guys going into their shells, I would have thought. Like you want to hope that the Guy Santos leap here over the last 2 months doesn't just disappear because Steph's back. So I like the fact that he was still aggressive, didn't pan out. He was like a negative in the game, I suppose, as a result. But I did like the aggressiveness. In terms of some of the disappointments, I suppose, Kristaps Porzingis. So this was a big thing for me, like watching KP and Steph together. I think they played 11 minutes and had like a -50 net rating. Like they got absolutely cooked in the Steph KP minutes. And KP had 6 fouls in 8 minutes in the second half and fouled out earlier in the fourth quarter. Not good. Like I don't know why I'm laughing about it. It was terrible. Right. So we need to see more of KP and Steph together effectively, because I do think that's going to play some of a role in how far the Warriors are willing to go. And it should work. Like there's no reason for it not to work. The offensive stuff with Steph and KP, I think, will be fine. It was more so the defensive stuff yesterday with KP where he got bullied by Şengün multiple times. Right. Whereas like, man, you're 7'2", 7'3". Can we get a little bit, like, you don't necessarily have to block shots, but can we get a little bit more, like Şengün just backing you down, getting 3 foot from the basket, like a little baby hook, and you can't do anything about it despite your size. It's like, not great. You need to, and like, because he's obviously not athlete. He doesn't move very well. So if he's out on the perimeter, then I can understand him getting cooked by smaller guys. Like I can completely understand that. But if you're going to get cooked out on the perimeter, like Rudy Gobert gets cooked out on the perimeter, right? Like centers, this is what happens. But if that's going to happen, then you at least need to be some kind of rim protector and presence around the paint. And we've seen that sporadically, but probably not consistently enough. And geez, he was poor yesterday when it comes to that. So disappointing Kristaps Porzingis game. 9 points, 8 rebounds, and fouled out early in the fourth quarter after less than 23 minutes. And again, all 6 fouls game in 8 minutes in the second half. He had a couple of like poster dunks in the third quarter, which were nice, but then they were kind of intertwined with the foul trouble. So anyway, is what it is. I'm looking forward to seeing more of Steph and KP together because that should work really effectively. I was surprised that Charles Bassey didn't play more in his first game with the Warriors. His first 3 minutes and 20 seconds in the opening period was really impressive, right? This is a dude that signed a contract just hours earlier on the same day, comes out, checks into the game at the same time as Steph. So there has to be some level of pressure there where it's like, hang on, look at the crowd up, celebrating, cheering. Not for me, obviously, but for this guy, number 30 next to me. I'm coming in playing with the greatest player in franchise history who's just trying to reintegrate himself after 27 games out. I'm on a 10-day contract. There's pressure there, right? And he kind of the first Steph pick and roll, he's wide open. And he almost took a split second to be like, all right, I feel like I should be kicking this out or something. No, man, you're wide open at the rim because you're playing with Steph Curry. And he throws it down, has an and-one layup soon after that. Then plays 2 total minutes over the second and third quarters, which didn't make much sense to me. KP fouls out early fourth quarter. And Steve Kerr has no choice but to go back to Charles Bassey for 4 minutes where it was fairly underwhelming. He didn't do a whole lot apart from the one possession where he blocked Şengün twice, the second of which was quite emphatic, it must be said. And the Warriors won those minutes by 2. I think they were +2 in those 4 minutes in the fourth quarter. So I think he's got what I like about Charles Bassey is that I think he's just more athletic than Yurtseven, right? And so he's going to throw down a few more dunks. He's going to block a few more shots and stuff like that. And it's just that's a nice compliment to the Warriors having a trio of stretch bigs in KP, Horford, and Quinton Post. None of which, Horford's still at 39, got some athleticism and can offer some rim protection. And I think his return here in the coming days will hopefully be a big influence to the Warriors. But Charles Bassey's more your traditional big man's real strong presence in the paint on both ends. Now, he shot 40.5% from three-point range in his 17 games with Santa Cruz this season in the G League. But I don't think he's going to be shooting any threes. I think it's just going to be man, run the floor, hustle, energetic, few pick and rolls with Steph or whoever else. And particularly if you're playing with Steph, you're going to get some wide open dunks, I would have thought. Try and he was better in terms of a rim protector than KP was in yesterday's game, which might go more to KP and the disappointment of him, I suppose, more so than Bassey being terrific. But I don't know, I was pretty impressed. I will go back to the episode I did yesterday. I feel like Charles Bassey should have been on this team 21 days ago instead of Yurtseven. And you should have given Bassey the opportunity to have 2 10-day contracts. Instead, you're probably only going to give him 1 10-day contract. And then that's going to be it. Also, Nate Williams. Should Nate Williams be in this rotation rather than playing some of these 3 or 4 guard lineups? I don't know. Maybe. But then Pods needs to play. Melton, if Melton's available, I suppose he needs to play. But he hit a big 3 in the fourth quarter, but it was pretty underwhelming. Again, it must be said. I feel like that thumb. I don't want to be overcritical of him because I think the thumb is kind of stuffed. GP2 actually has to play based on his play. Could you take the Pat Spencer minutes out and just give them to Nate Williams or even another big Steve went very briefly to Bassey and Porzingis minutes in the first quarter, I think it was. And I was whoa, okay, this is interesting. Take the Pat Spencer minutes out, let Pods and Melton run the show, I suppose, when Steph's off the floor. And maybe play some double big. whether it's like Draymond and KP who obviously start, or like Bassie and KP, or when they like Horford and Draymond, or Horford and KP, or Bassie and Horford, or Bassie and KP, like whatever it is, play a bit bigger. Because we saw in that final, when they had 4 guards out there on the final defensive possession when Şengün got the layup, it's like, what are we doing? I know KP's fouled out, but like, any chance? So I don't know. But a positive, I'm going to finish it up there, because a positive return, obviously, really positive return for Steph Curry. And again, I'm fingers crossed, touching wood, that he remains healthy. That's still the number one thing. But while he is healthy, we are going to get some very exciting basketball like we saw yesterday against the Rockets. Fantastic to see him back, and a reminder of his greatness, and also just the primary reason we love sport, which is because it's entertaining and exciting. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel already, that would be greatly appreciated. Follow me at POC252. That's POK252 on X/Twitter. Go and stay with mates on TikTok and Instagram as well. Again, the Warriors play the Kings tomorrow. Should get a win, you would have thought. But I'll probably be back for another episode after that one. Thanks again.